Good afternoon, Beauty Beat crew. How is everybody doing? Wonderful. You're looking even better than you sound, so love that for you. I am really excited for our next session. It is one that I think is so important, more than ever for us. It's a wild time that we're in. So, especially as women of colour, particularly black women, I think we need to look after ourselves. Health is wealth. So the next discussion is the wealth of wellness throughout the decades. It's an intergenerational discussion, and it's going to be moderated by iconic, trailblazing, legendary broadcaster Charlene White. So please give her a warm welcome. Enjoy.
Oh, hello. Well, good, you've woken up then. That's what I like to hear. Have you guys been enjoying your morning so far? Good. I would love for you all to give a huge round of applause and a cheer for the woman that created this, a woman that I sat with a couple of years ago when she was talking about wanting to do this. And, 3 years later, we're here, centre of town, Westminster. Please give Donna a huge round of applause. I'm all about women supporting women, and honestly, I'm emotional standing on this stage because I know how much work and tireless work building this has been for Donna, so I'm incredibly proud. So we're going to be talking about wellness in this session. Are you all in some need of a bit of advice about wellness? Yeah, especially as we head into those winter months, we need to be looking after ourselves. I've got an amazing panel for you coming up. They are brilliant women who are at the top of their game, who are impactful, intelligent, and incredible. So please give them a huge round of applause. We have Karen Williams, Gina, Demi Santana Brown, Ruth Pokes, Lenise Brothers, and Dr. Joyce. Keep the cheers going. Oh, man. Do you know what? I've got that really awful thing that I'm going to say because I can. I follow a lot of these women already on an Instagram. And I follow Gina, and I just saw Gina in the corridor, and I was like, oh, my God, it's just Gina. Oh, my God. And then really nervously was like, hi, Gina, and gave her a huge hug. But it's so lovely to see you all, honestly. And wellness, the wellness space is an interesting one, because the wellness space is something that has been highlighted by a particular demographic when there are so many of us who have been living our lives, and our parents did it as well, living our lives in a very particular way. And yet, for a particular demographic, their stories tend to be highlighted, tend to be spoken about more. But there are so many of you ladies who've been in this space for a long time, and whose messaging, I don't know, sometimes is lost in the mainstream. But for me, you are way more important. And I think what you have to say today will be, I don't know, it's wealth. It's what we all need. It's what we all need to be living our life by. But Karen, what does wellness mean to you? I'm going to ask you all that question because, I don't know, what does it mean?
Okay, I'm going to keep this one short and sweet just because I've got so much to say when we get to my personal question. But for me, you either choose wellness or you choose illness. The choice is yours.
Okay. Joyce?
I think for me, it's an integration of lots of different things. We talk about physical health, we talk about emotional health, we talk about well-being. It's about looking after ourselves before we get sick. It's that prevention side of things. And of course, as the doctor on the panel, I'm going to say prevention comes in so many different ways, whether it's mental health and checking on yourself, or it's physical health and going for your screening programs and checking your breasts. There's so many things that wellness encompasses that it's so hard to just define it as one thing. But it's really about looking after ourselves and taking care of ourselves before something bad happens and we get worried about it.
Okay. Demi?
I think it's a journey, and a big part of it is the self-acceptance, the self-love, and understanding your self-worth and putting yourself first.
Lenise?
Yeah, I think wellness is such an interesting word because it's a superlative and it implies that we have to strive for something. But we all have health. We have different aspects of health, like Dr. Joyce said. And it's really about finding spaces within the day to take care of yourself. It's not about 5 hours at the gym or making massive meals. It's about those little things that you can do to tend to different aspects of your health that keep you going and help you feel better each and every day.
What about you, Gina?
I think for me, it's about striving every single day to become like the best version of yourself, whether that's physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, because in the words of my mother, prevention is better than cure.
What about you, Ruth?
Wellness for me is, and perhaps the side of wellness that I'm a lot more kind of in tune with, is the introspective work of wellness. It's the going deeper. It's beyond the superficial, commercialized version of like matchas and yogas. It's the emotional work. It's the looking at how I think, whether I'm thinking the right way, whether I'm assessing situations right, how it makes me feel, how I communicate with people around me, how I see myself. For me, wellness is my journey to peace, and I always say it's not about perfection, it's about progress, and making sure that I'm doing things every single day to inch that much further to my progress.
I mean, is this something you've always done, or was a particular moment in your life, I don't know, where there was a wake-up call where you thought, actually, I need to change things?
Oh, absolutely. So a bit of background on me. I'm a corporate financial consultant, and if anybody here works in the corporate world, you know it is absolute mayhem at the best of times. It's KPIs, it's deadlines, it's so intense. And then when I gave birth to my son, I was like, I need to change my way of thinking, and I need to start becoming more in tune with myself and finding what my peace looks like outside of the confinements of work, outside of the confinements of so I'm African. I don't know, kind of growing up in an African household, especially as a woman, you're always labeled. You're the mother, you're the daughter, you're the wife, you're the sister, and all of those come with their own checklist of responsibilities. So my sense of peace was always linked to somebody else's perspective of me, and it was my validation was felt in my role. And I got to a place, especially after I had my son, where I was like, in order for me to be the best version of me for him, I need to be the best version of me for myself, where it's not tied to a title, it's not tied to who I am in somebody else's life, it's tied to me and me feeling peace emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. So yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned it happened for you after having your son, because Karen, you've got two 18-year-olds, twins. Boys. Oh, dear. Would you say that them being older and you becoming older has had an impact on how you now deal with wellness and the importance that you put on growing you?
Well, of course, when you've got twins around your ankles, there's only so much you can do for yourself, especially when, I'm a very present mother. So it's been really difficult. And I get what you're saying, that you have to kind of fill your cup before you fill everyone else's, but it's about getting that balance, I'm guessing. But for sure, I feel like I've done my job with them. They're 18. I've done what I can. and now it's my time. I'm not going to lie. It's my time.
And Lenice, for you, when was that moment? Is it something that you've always done in terms of thinking about your own health and your own wellness? Or is it something that came to you later on in life?
So I come from a corporate background as well. I used to work in advertising, international advertising, and the job was relentless, traveling all the time. And I fell pregnant, and I just thought to myself, I just can't do this anymore. And it coincided with a real journey for me of exploring what was going on with my physical health. I have endometriosis, and I then decided to retrain as a nutritionist, specializing in hormone health. And I just realized that you only get one body, you only get one health, and I had to take care of myself the best that I could. And I also had that same realization that I had to take care of myself for my son. I was drinking a lot, and I just thought, I don't want to be this type of mom. So it wasn't sudden. It was like very gradual, but it led to a wholesale change for me, changing career to doing what I do today, and it's just been wonderful.
Yeah, you have a link with endometriosis as well, Demi, don't you?
Yeah.
So talk to us about that in terms of your own wellness journey.
First of all, I just love, and I decided so a bit of context behind my journey is that I went into a reality TV show.
A reality TV show.
Love is Blind.
You're on Love is Blind. It's massive.
Yeah, I know. Oh gosh, in search of love, right? And throughout that journey, I realized the biggest love that I needed to find was the love that I was given to myself. And I didn't realize how much endometriosis had such a hold over me over many years, but I was kind of looking for connection, and I knew that to seek connection, I needed to be my authentic self and tell my truth. And that's what kind of kick-started my journey, to be honest with you. And post-show, like, I've really started my wellness journey because I feel like it's so important to pour into yourself, as the ladies are saying, and like, looking for the nutritionists and seeking help from the doctors and making sure the community that I have around me are like-minded and on the same kind of journey. Sorry if I just waffle on to a whole different... What was the question?
No, but you did answer it. It's like when,
Okay.
you know, how did it play into your wellness journey?
Yeah.
But it does bring me very swiftly onto Dr. Joyce, because the assumption, because you're a doctor, is that surely you must have been doing this wellness thing from, like, uni. But when did it start for you?
I think it's interesting, right? Because you're training to be a doctor, but actually from medical school to actually being a doctor, the wellness actually sits behind at first. Because at first, when you're a doctor, you're thinking, the patient is first. I need to come in for the patient, do everything I need to do for that job or for that doctor. And again, I grew up in a Nigerian household. You're the doctor. Everybody's like the doctor. So you feel like you're the doctor everywhere, that you forget to take care of yourself. And I think for me, where I had to really sit back and step into my own wellness journey was actually during the pandemic, because that was my first year working as a doctor, and my whole life was about medicine, about going to work, because there was nothing else to do. Everyone was at home, I was going to work, and that's the first time that I felt, yes, I had medical school where you get stressed, you get worried, but I felt like I was good at still taking care of myself. But during the pandemic, I made it all about going to work and just trying to do my best for other people. And it wasn't about myself until I got to a point where I was extremely burnt out. And I got COVID, but I thought that was actually a blessing when I got it, because I feel like if I had gone to work 2 days after that, I would have been exhausted and probably not been great at work. So after going through that whole process, seeing, first of all, how much lifestyle is important, even in that journey with patients, seeing how much lifestyle was important, even with my healthcare professionals and everyone that worked around me, and seeing how much, yes, when you can focus on one thing and you can focus on work and focus on making everybody else happy, but if you're not taking care of yourself, then you can't help anyone else. You can't be the best doctor, you can't be the best daughter, you can't be the best sister, because I'm the first daughter, so I have many. They're my siblings, but they're actually
daughters.
Yeah, so imagine the wellness journey with that is another thing. So I really felt like the pandemic was the time where I had to, really think about what's taking care of myself and how important that is for me to be able to even take care of anyone else, and for me to show up at the level that I want to be able to show up in. And once I started doing that, I started going for runs, even though I'm not really a runner, because that was the only thing to do, and really taking care of my diet, and actually learning to also say, no, I'm so sorry, I can't do this. Like, I'm so sorry, I can't do this, and that's okay, and everyone is going to be just fine, and I'll come in tomorrow, and actually put myself forward a little bit, made a huge difference.
Gina, I know you talk very openly about where your wellness journey started, and was it linked to love?
If I speak. No, I'm joking. Okay, so I came out of a really bad relationship, and I was down bad. I hit rock bottom, and I used exercise as a form of like mental therapy. So I started running, and the thing is, you couldn't pay me to run now, to be fair. But at the time, I used to run, and it was my way of, I guess, dealing with whatever I was dealing with mentally. And it just allowed me to really learn so much about myself. It's like, if I'm being honest, before fitness, I don't think I knew who I was, if I'm being completely honest, because I've learned so much through the years. And I've been in the gym since 2012, and I've not looked back. And I've gone through so many different versions of myself in the process. And I don't think I would have been able to do that had I not gone through that. So I don't hate love. And I'm very appreciative of the experience that I had, because again, like I said, like I don't feel like if I didn't go through that, I would have probably come to this version of myself. Because if you ask any of my family members or my friends, I was that person who was like forging their mum's signatures to say I can't do PE. I wasn't an active child.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm the complete opposite of who I was. Like my siblings, my 2 older brothers were very athletic. They played all the sports, and I just used to eat. That was me. So to be where I am now, it's kind of mind-blowing, to be fair, but...
I bet your brothers can't believe it.
No, and do you know why they can't? Because the roles have reversed. They have reversed so much, and I love that for me. So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Oh, that's brilliant. Karen, anyone who follows Karen will be very aware of her Find Your Fabulous content and your campaign. What's the centre of that? Why did you decide to do that?
Right, I like to just flow and just be organic, but I've had to write some things down because otherwise I get lost.
That's okay.
I get a bit lost, and I think as I've got older, I'm 50, and as I get older...
Wow. I know, right?
As I get older, I've definitely developed with the menopause or perimenopause, or I've got a bit of ADHD. It's just all, so... It's definitely, I want to deliver my message.
That's all right. You do that.
I started the Find Your Fabulous movement in lockdown just because so many of us just needed connection, and we were feeling lost. I was feeling lost, for sure. And I saw hundreds of you guys online for what you thought was like a styling session, essentially, but it wasn't. It was so much more than that. I was literally seeing people around the world in tears being a therapist that I didn't know I was. Perimenopause, menopause, being a mother, dealing with grief, weight gain, weight loss, loss of confidence, bad relationships, all the things that these, ladies are saying are all contributions to why we can just lose ourselves. And it can get us all in life. You can look at me sitting here now in my white tights and my little heels and think, oh yeah, she's all right, she's got everything. But all of us have had a journey, and all of us have had issues with ourselves. And finding your fabulous, for me, is about finding you. So I'm going to say that again for the people at the back. Finding your fabulous is about finding you, with a sprinkle of fabulousness on the top. Does that make sense? So it's funny because today is like a really sort of a moment for me where I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, because this has been a long time coming. I did a Find Your Fabulous event online in lockdown 4 years ago, but I've not had the confidence to sort of bring it into reality. And be with all you guys, really. But so today is really a bit of an aligning moment. So I feel very privileged and very, very happy to be able to start my journey with you guys today. Thank you. And it's perfect because it's Sunday. Monday is the perfect day to start. Set your intentions. It's a perfect time to make your list of ingredients of baking that cake of fabulous, and that cake is you, that fabulous cake of you. So this is my ingredients for fabulousness. I want you to think about yours, because this is a very, very individual journey. So cutting out sugar, beige carbs, and alcohol, it has to go.
Wow, you lot are not happy about that, are you? They were with you until that bit.
I know.
And then they all went, oh no. Which one was it? The booze? You bunch of alcoholics.
Let's go upstairs.
Discipline, because without discipline, you have nothing. Consistency, you got to keep going. Gratitude, because gratitude is a must. Movement, I can't stress this enough, especially as we get older. Dressing up, looking good is food for the soul. Skincare, nourish that skin. We are losing collagen and developing wrinkles as we speak. Boundaries, we all need these. You know that, right? Work on confidence. Care less about irrelevant people's opinions. Bravery. Step out of your comfort zone because we need to do that to grow. Focus. Be laser focused on your dreams. Faith. Believe and you will achieve. Choose wellness or illness. Just start today.
Yeah.
Karen, man, you just brought us to church. Thank you for that. Linnice, I want to talk about supplements because I started my supplement journey earlier on this year, and that was triggered by an allergic reaction that I'd had around my eyes. Anyone that follows me on Instagram would have seen it. And a lot of that was linked to the fact of my nutrition, having a leaky gut, all of these things that I keep watching other people talk about on Instagram and go, oh, it's so woo-woo. We're like, they're just talking rubbish. I don't need supplements. They're just rubbish. They're not worth anything. And then I went to a nutritionist and a doctor that did all these tests on me. And actually, I was low in so many different things that I hadn't realized. And then I was then put on a cocktail of various different supplements and collagen powder, gut health powder, all of these different things. And it has completely changed my life. And I didn't realize that when I thought I was sleeping, I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't resting. All of these things have made a difference. I'm in the gym twice a week. Gina? Gym twice a week. And the whole thing I cannot begin to tell you how much it has changed my life and how much more awake I feel and how it's affected my brain. What I thought were perimenopausal symptoms, it wasn't at all. It was all to do with my nutrition. And actually, you'll be very proud, Linnice. I've told 2 people today, you need to up your omega-3s. You need to be eating 2 lots of oily fish a week. I'm doing all of this stuff because I know that it actually works. What would you say to anyone here to convince them that this stuff matters? Without it, we are killing our bodies.
Yeah, well, firstly, congratulations on everything that you've done for your health. It's wonderful. I think the first step is to really look at the foundations that you're creating with your health. Supplements are just one part of them. So what are you eating? So really taking an approach of what you're adding in rather than what you're subtracting. Because I know what you said, but I think we get in this mindset of restriction. You know, I've got to cut out this, I've got to cut out that. But what are you adding in? What are what's the fiber that you're adding in? The protein, the brightly colored fruits and vegetables, the healthy fats. Every meal is an opportunity to add in foods that are beneficial for different aspects of your health. 7 days a week, 21 different opportunities to add in these different foods. How are you sleeping? You know, are you really prioritizing sleep? Do you have that bedtime routine, or are you scrolling? I know some of you are. I do it too. What is the opportunity you're giving yourself to get that really restful sleep, especially between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m.? Community, so important. You know, you don't have to go on any wellness journey alone. Movement, so important. Supplementation I look at it like the cherry on top of the cake. And what I always say to anyone I work with is test, don't guess. Don't just take a supplement because it works for that person or your friend. You need to know what's going on in your body. So iron deficiency is a huge issue. Go to your doctor, get an iron panel done, get your ferritin tested, your total iron, your hemoglobin. Figure out what's going on there. Don't just take an iron supplement because your friend is taking it. Get tested so you know exactly what to take and make sure it works for you. Vitamin D, you know, darker skin, you need more vitamin D from the sun. We're not getting vitamin D from the sun between November and March. So the NHS recommends 400 IUs. We probably need a bit more. Test, don't guess. Omega-3. Yes, omega-3.
I can't tell you how fast my hair's growing since I've been taking omega-3s. And also, and I've noticed a difference in my skin and all of that stuff. And I make sure I have my mackerel twice a week and all of these things, which I probably knew I needed, but I didn't know what the impact would be. And sometimes that's the difference, isn't it? Is that you know, something will come up on your feed, you'll buy those tablets, you have no idea if that's what you need. But once you know what you need, the impact is huge, right?
Exactly. And omega-3, we can get it from food, but we can't make it ourselves. So oily fish, I like to use this acronym SMASH: salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardine, haddock, herring, trout. Some of you might be thinking anchovies, ew, but there's probably something on that list that you like. If you're a vegan or vegetarian, algae. Those are really great sources of omega-3 fatty acids. You can take a supplement, make sure it's high in DHA and EPA, and it will have incredible effects on your hair, your skin, your brain health, but also your hormones, because hormones like estrogen and progesterone are made from fat. So we need to have fat in our diet in order to make those hormones. So those are the three that I would definitely recommend. And of course, I have to say magnesium, because that's all the girlies on TikTok are talking about it. But you need to make sure you're taking the right form. Magnesium citrate is good if you're constipated. If you're not constipated, you'll be going to the bathroom. Magnesium glycinate is fantastic. It's an all-rounder. I recommend it to the people I work with who have painful periods, who have endometriosis, who have anxiety, who have sleeping issues. But there are about 10 to 15 different types of magnesium. So you need to find the form that works for you.
And I've got to say, magnesium changed my life. And I can't begin. So the doctor I went to put a heart monitor on me. And I had that on for 3 days and 3 nights. And it showed that for 2 days, my body only went into rest and recovery between 5 and 6 in the morning, even though I was sleeping. And during a 24-hour period, didn't go into rest and recovery at all. So the doctor basically said if I'd sort of carried on sleeping in the way that I was doing, living the life and the work that I do, in a couple of years, I probably would have collapsed. And I wouldn't have known the reason why, but it would have been very serious. And since changing and doing the supplements, and I now can't sleep without magnesium. Magnesium changed everything. And I know when I haven't taken it, because I'm like lying there for ages and I can't fall asleep. And I realized that's what I've been doing for years, especially since having children, because children changes a lot. So I can't overestimate enough what impact it's had in my life. And I know all the girlies are talking about it on TikTok. And I know that, and we shouldn't use TikTok for health advice. But it is important that we listen to your advice and understand the important aspects that we need to start bringing into our own wellness journey. Demi, you talked about the gynecological issues I can't say it, your endometriosis. In terms of what you have done and the choices that you've made that have helped you deal with that better than before, what have you been doing?
First, I changed the narrative with endometriosis, because for many years I saw it as a weakness, and now I see it as my strength. And then I started to actually do the research rather than just feel sorry for myself all the time, to be honest with you. I'm like, there's something that I've got, I accept that, but I can't keep living feeling sorry for myself and being sad all the time about this. I need to change the script. So I done the research. I went back to speak to my consultant about my diagnosis and talk about the steps moving forward. But then I also was like, surgery isn't really the option I want to be taking. I want to see if I can steer the ship, basically. So I reached out to a nutritionist, which was great, by the way. I'm actually doing like an anti-inflammatory diet at the moment. Very hard. Wow. Very hard, but it's a journey. And then got myself back in the gym as well, because I've been very inconsistent over the years. And, when I am consistent, I feel great. I work out for 3 months in a row, feeling great, loving myself. And then all of a sudden it's my birthday and I'm going out having a drink. And then 2 months later, I'm like, oh, I'm back at square one again. Let's start these 3 months. So this, post-show, I'm like, no, I'm getting older and I can't keep living this lifestyle. It needs to, it's not just inconsistency. I've got to be disciplined. And it has to become a lifestyle and I have to choose it. And what I realize is I have to pick my community. I have to be around like-minded people, because at the end, and that's where the boundaries come involved with it, because I want to be hearing, should we go to the gym? Should we go to the club? The club every now and then, but not every time the club, because it's temptation until you can, have the discipline to go to a club and be like, I've got to get up for the gym in the morning. I'm going to have some water tonight. I'm not going to drink. Yeah. I'm just navigating the ship, but I know I want to be at peace. Yeah. And I'm just stealing that one from you because I loved it when you said earlier. I just want to be at peace and I'm learning to love myself and accept myself, but I want to be the best version of myself and change the narrative. So what I would say to anyone that has any kind of struggle in their life, take ownership of it. As you said, what did you say? The line about illness is,
you choose wellness or you choose illness.
Yeah,
I have an illness.
Just choose wellness.
I have an illness.
That's my advice, but that's what I'm choosing and I'm navigating it. And what might work for me might not work for you, but it's your journey, so I would say start now.
Oh. Now, in terms of how you balance life with wellness, Gina, I know that you go out because I'm always like, oh, what's Gina wearing? And I'm like, I promise you I'm not a stalker. But I know that you are very open about that, and I know that your community appreciates that, because you are incredibly impactful within your community. My sister lives in Florida. My sister still it's like, I'm walking because Gina's doing a walking thing every day for a month. Your community has impact, but how do you juggle that? Because, I'm old and wrinkled, so if I go out one night, it impacts me for a long time. But if you are younger and you're wanting to have a social life as well as a wellness life, as well as a working life, as well as all of that stuff, how do you balance that? Because it's not easy.
I think for me, it's choosing things that you enjoy. So I know it seems I'm outside, but I'm not always outside. I think I just prioritize where I want to go and the choices that I make. So before, I'm going to be honest, I didn't have balance when I first started. I was extremely rigid. So you couldn't ask me to come out. I'm prioritizing going to the gym, or if I'm going out, I'm eating specific to my diet. And I guess for everyone else around me, it was a bit off-putting because I wasn't really inspiring them, because it was your life's really boring, or you don't seem like you have a life. And to be fair, I see my journey as it being part of my everyday life. It fits my routine. It shouldn't be something that is very restrictive, because then you don't really have balance. And when you're too restrictive, I feel like that's when you struggle to maintain it and do it over a long period of time. So I kind of just adjusted my approach to make my lifestyle work. So if I do want to go out, I'm going to go out, but I know that it's going to be when I don't have to wake up crazy early the next day to work out or something, or maybe the next day is my rest day or whatever. Or if I'm going out and I'm going to eat, I'm going to have a balanced meal. If I want to have a drink, I'm going to have a drink. If I don't want to have a drink, I'm not going to have a drink. But I'm not putting that much pressure on myself, because it's about finding what works for me and having a balance. I think if you're one extreme or the other, you're always going to find that point where you kind of struggle. So I guess I just had to get myself to a point of finding my sweet spot and sticking with it. And as I've got older, I listen to my body a lot more. So before I used to not work against my body, but I was so focused on goals and being very rigid. And now I'm if I don't want to do something today, I'm not going to do it today because I'm not feeling it, because me doing that is also a form of wellness and self-love, because I'm choosing my body. Do you get what I mean? And when you work against your body, that's when you get to that place of burnout or being tired or getting sick, because in your head, you have to go to the gym 5 times a week, but you're sick. You have a cold, babes. like it's okay to take time off, but just because you want to tick a box to say that I've done it 5 times a week, you're compromising yourself in the long run. So it's just being a bit more intuitive and listening to my body that's got me here.
Now, Karen, there'll be a lot of people, Ruth, there'll be a lot of people in the audience here who will hear us all talking about it, and they'll sit there and go, I should do that. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. And then wake up tomorrow and go, not today. When in the work that you do, self-development, encouraging people to be a better version of themselves, what advice do you give to people? Just because it's sometimes just getting on that first rung, and then as Demi says, it's learning to hang on to that first rung and don't let go, just to keep on going. What sort of advice do you give to people who are still umming and ahhing and struggling to make that first step?
So I did a live the other day and I said something and everyone was like, oh, that's really good, so I'm going to repeat it.
If it works, girl.
Like everyone's self-love. I mean, self-discipline is the greatest form of self-love. And I really, really believe that. I think showing up for yourself is the biggest I love me that you can ever do. And I've recently been studying the practice of neuroplasticity, which, for those who don't know, it's the rewiring of your brain by making little constant changes every single day. And before you know it, your brain will start to adapt to the changes that you're making on a daily basis. So I always kind of say, especially to the people that I coach, that it's not about the mountaintop. It's just about that first step. So don't worry about having goals and things like that. It's amazing. But don't worry about the version of you that will show up next year. Just worry about the version of you that will show up tomorrow or in an hour's time. Make a decision that will lead you one step closer to the version of you that you want to be. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love working out. Gina, I'm always like, how did you get that waist? Especially having after 2 kids, I'm like, I need to figure it out like Gina. But I'm so committed to showing up for myself, even if it's just a little bit. And if I do that every single day, if I commit to just showing up for myself, even a little bit every single day, before I know it, the version of me that I desire will appear. And I really, really, really believe that. I think it is about loving yourself enough to just show up for yourself, even just a little bit. Waking up and going to the gym every day, it's not easy. Having the right diet is not easy. Eating mackerel twice a week is not easy. But so long as you just make that one decision out of the billion decisions that you make in a single day, you are showing up for yourself. And I think that's, if not for nothing else, just show up for yourself.
Yeah, no, I like that. Dr. Joyce, the medical profession doesn't always align with the wellness profession. So we can be talking about increasing supplements, increasing our intake of oily fish. All of these things that we're talking about doesn't always align with the medical profession. So how do you then balance the two?
In terms of So in terms of kind of the wellness.
Yeah, so talking about Demi and her endometriosis, she goes, I've looked more into it, I've looked at, and you have Lenise sort of saying, well, supplements can also impact how your body deals with endometriosis. You can go to the doctor with one thing and supplements may not be the thing that they prescribe you, when actually supplements are probably the thing that could help you more so than drugs.
Yeah. So I think it's important. I love what Lenise said about also, for example, when we're talking about supplements, it's also understanding that there may be underlying causes for a lot of the symptoms that we're experiencing, a lot of the things, something like bloating, for example. I know we go straight to having de-bloating supplements, for example, but actually if you're experiencing bloating, that's something as a doctor that I would want to see. If you're tired, there's probably underlying things that I need to look out for, like like thyroid levels and your iron levels. So yes, in terms of sometimes when we think about the medicine and we think about wellness, it can feel very separate. And as a doctor and as someone who also believes that lifestyle is extremely important, it can be hard trying to navigate that. But most guidelines for any condition, depending on what exactly it is, will always advise lifestyle measures. So if you're looking at high blood pressure, we'll always talk about lifestyle measures before we go into medication. I think one thing I definitely wanted to highlight, especially in this kind of conversation, especially as Black women, is how we advocate for ourselves, right? In just talking about this space, whether it's wellness or it's medicine or you're worried about something. And so that's something I would really like to highlight in this conversation, if that's okay, because I speak to a lot of women with, as a doctor, but with my organization, and also just having lots of amazing women around me. And there's so many conditions, and we were talking about this earlier, Demi, there's so many conditions that exist but no one knows about, or that we just don't hear enough about. So first of all, thank you for even just sharing that on a platform where we can actually learn more about endometriosis, what it is, why we should be aware of it, because it's just something we don't hear. We don't talk about women's health issues. So what I would say in terms of navigating that and advocating for yourself, even if you've come in with something and your doctor is not doing it, is first of all, understand that there are 3 things you need to look out for before you go to that appointment, during that appointment, and after the appointment. Before the appointment, we've spoken about so much here. We've spoken about supplements, we've spoken about lifestyle decisions, we've spoken about different conditions. If you have any concerns about anything, if there are any new conditions you've learned today, you are worried about, and you've listened to your body and identified that there's something that doesn't feel right, write all of that down. Write down on your notes or a piece of paper that you're not going to forget, but write it down just so that you're checking in with what you're concerned about, okay? So that's what I would do before. Write the questions, make sure you know your family history. Make sure, especially as Black people, we do not talk enough about our health. We don't know what our moms got diagnosed with. Post-pandemic, more people are talking about it, but we do not know if they've had clots in the past. We do not know about breast cancer in the family. We do not know all these things, and that really affects what I, as a doctor, will diagnose you with. So make sure you have that written somewhere. And then during the appointment, make sure you actually bring that list with you. Because as a doctor, and also someone that has been a patient before, you can walk into that appointment and forget everything. You walk in and you're like, I finally got my GP appointment. I'm so excited now. The receptionist has given me my appointment. And you get there and you forget all the questions you had. Bring that notebook out and ask me, why is it not this? Why are you sending me for an ultrasound scan? Dr. Joyce said that blood tests will help diagnose PCOS. Why are you not sending me for this? Because I can actually explain to you as a doctor, actually, we're not doing this. We'll start with blood tests, and then maybe we'll do your ultrasound scan. And then after that, if it's still going on, then we will do this. I can actually work through what your concerns are. And another thing I'm going to say during your appointments is, if you need to bring someone else with you, bring someone else. You can have your mom virtually on the phone. I've gone to so many friends' appointments with them just to make sure I could say, there's a smaller speculum, please, during their cervical screening, to tell them, actually, you may need someone else to advocate for you, and don't forget that you can actually bring that person alongside with you. So that's during. And after, and it comes down to everything, if you don't feel like something is right, if you do not feel like your body, you're happy with that conversation, trust your gut. You know your body more than anybody else. I'm telling you this because I've also been a patient. And guys, doctors make the worst patients, because when I'm sick, I think, oh my God, what is going on with me? But you have to really trust your body, trust your gut, and you can seek a second opinion. If you're going to see a GP, there are 5 other GPs in that practice, okay? You can say, you know what, thank you so much, you've helped me. Can I please just book with another person so they have a fresh view? Nobody will get offended. Doctors should not be getting offended. We should be trying to make your life easier. We should be trying to make your life, you feel more comfortable. And so that's what I would definitely advise in terms of just advocating for yourself before, during, and after your appointment.
That is gold advice. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm going to throw it out to you guys in a couple of minutes. But before we do, I've got a very specific question for you, Lenise, because we've had a few people who've DM'd us questions, and a lot of them were about gynecological health. Said it that time. Which we've covered. But also we're getting quite a lot of DMs about sex drive and what women might be able to do in order to be able to increase their sex drive. Is there any advice that you would be able to give them on that, Lenise?
So I think, well, I like to use the term libido rather than sex drive. I feel like sex drive, it puts the onus on you when, if you think about where your libido, it's very mental as well as physical. If you still have a menstrual cycle, there'll be times in your menstrual cycle, so menstrual cycle being from the day one of your period all the way through to the day before your next period starts, there'll be times in your menstrual cycle, probably right before you ovulate, so around the midway point of your menstrual cycle, where your estrogen levels are rising, your testosterone levels are rising, and you will feel like your libido is a little bit stronger. And there are things that you can do to support that. The first thing is just to be aware of how you feel, aware that maybe this is the time in your menstrual cycle, oh, okay, maybe, this is the time where I feel a little bit sexier. So that awareness is really important. But then we think about when we move into different phases of life. So going through perimenopause, where hormones are just all over the place, and then postmenopause, where you don't have a period anymore. There's that libido question, and it doesn't completely fade, but I think there's the mental side of it that is really important. And do you still feel sexy? You can feel sexy in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s. You don't just shrivel up. And, despite, I think, what a lot of us have heard, you don't just shrivel up, after you finish your period. There's still a vitality that exists in all of us. And libido is part of that. And sexual wellness is something that I think is really important to explore. What excites you? What turns you on? And, this might be a bit taboo, but I'm going to say it anyway. Do you know how to get yourself to an orgasm? Because it's not just about the other person doing it for you. Can you give yourself an orgasm? And I know there's some other aspects that might be interesting for Dr. Joyce to cover there.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about libido, so low libido, reduced sex drive, there's so many things that we need to consider. It's not just about, as you said, it's not just about just the relationship part, which is important, but it's understanding there may be underlying, I know I'm the doctor in this panel, so I'm going to be but there may be underlying things that may actually cause it. We're taking all these medications and supplements. Have you read the back to see what the side effects are? Do you actually know if that's what is causing the issues? We have to be aware of what we're actually taking. So the first thing is there are certain medications that you may be taking that may be causing that. There may be certain physical health conditions that you have. If you have diabetes, possibly. If you have high blood, there are lots of other things that may explain that. And of course, hormonal changes such as the perimenopausal period, menopause period, pregnancy itself, and also really thinking again to come down to our lifestyles, our mind, how we're actually doing mentally in terms of stress and anxiety, sleep. It plays a huge part into all these things. Of course, we can talk about different managements, but actually, I think it's important to identify that we don't need to medicalize everything. So not everything is a medical issue, but it's also understanding that if you've tried lots of different things and you're still not feeling yourself, then it's okay to go and see someone to talk about it. Don't be embarrassed coming to speak to your doctor about anything, including your sex drive. There's nothing we haven't heard, and actually it's extremely important that you do talk about it.
Thank you both very much. Okay, we're going to turn the lights on a little bit, and we have got some microphones in the audience. So if you're able to raise your hand, give your name and who you'd like to direct your question to. We've got somewhat, wow, you were quick. But one thing that I do have to stress is because Lenice wears a hearing aid, if you are directing a question to Lenice, please do not cover your face. Make sure you look directly at Lenice so she's able to hear what it is that you are saying. So that's the first thing I have to say. But if this lady here in the grey jacket, if you could stand up, and if you could tell us who your question is directed to and ask your question, please.
Could it be directed to both?
No, one person, please.
Okay.
I got 12 minutes. We've got to get through this bit quickly.
All right. Demi, I met you outside. My name's Faith. I'm going to direct this to you as I also have endometriosis. I feel like the NHS, especially when it comes to hormonal health, massively underfunded area. And I feel like it's very difficult to navigate that system. So I don't know if there's any advice, because they'll be like, oh, 16 weeks for a gynecology appointment. Then they have nothing to say, and it's like you waited that time. So I don't know if there's anything that you've done within your journey that you recommend for those who may be struggling with endometriosis or any other issues, because I think it's very common.
Yeah, thank you, Faith, so much for your question. Like Dr. Joyce was saying, right, you have to advocate for yourself. I was just like you. I waited 7.5 years for a diagnosis. And I allowed myself to come off the books to then go back on the books. So it was very long-winded, and I lost a lot of time. And now as a 31-year-old woman, I'm only just really starting my wellness journey to take control of my diagnosis and empower myself. So now is your opportunity to really advocate for yourself. I mean, I probably would have done private healthcare, to be honest with you, if I knew how long-winded it was going to take, but I waited it out. So yeah, and don't just rely on the NHS. Like, you've got so many professionals around you, and these women up on this stage that are really giving a good message. Like, think about other alternatives to help with your diagnosis. Because since being anti-inflammatory, that's really helped me. I'm doing supplements at the moment. I don't really want to promote the brand until I can say to you it's great, because I'm only 3 weeks in, but it's really working for me. Like, find what works for you, and keep answering questions.
Thank you very much. We've got another lady here in a gold chain. Silver. I wear glasses, babes, all right. Oh, yes, no, it's coming. Don't worry. A microphone is coming to you. If you could stand up, and then we can see you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm not sure who, but it's about PMS, PMDD. I've always had bad PMS, like 2 weeks before to the day I'm due on, symptoms, crying, suicidal thoughts, needy, all that, and it's just getting out of hand. So I was thinking, like, how can I get tested? Because I think it is more than just bad PMS.
Dr. Joyce?
So yeah, so I don't know.
So first of all, PMS is quite common.
Yeah.
PMDD is the more extreme version of it, and that sounds like what you have.
Yeah.
Have you seen someone about this?
Yeah, but they always say, oh, you started, because I started when I was 10, my periods. They're like, oh no, they're really heavy. Sometimes people just get...
No,
this can't be.
Sometimes people
I'm
just
struggling.
don't.
Yeah.
No, you're right. So I think there's so many myths, right, about our periods that are normalized. If your periods are very heavy, very painful, if you are experiencing suicidal thoughts and having anxiety, really feeling really low just before your periods, that's something that we definitely need to speak to you about, and that's something that we first of all, need to make sure if it's just related to your periods or if there are other things that are causing it in terms of blood tests and things. There are things that we can do to help, and I think the first thing your doctor will do is to say to keep a symptom diary, just so we're aware of exactly, is this happening all the time, or is it happening just 3 days before when your period comes, you're feeling much better, or is it happening 2 weeks of your cycle? It's important for us to actually know that. And then there are different types of managements and things that we can think about. I think, Nice, if you don't mind talking, because I know you do a lot about periods, and especially with lifestyle and supplements and diets, because we can talk about the medical side of things, which I don't want to focus on now, but I think it'll be really good to speak more about the lifestyle and what you can do at the moment before you then see a doctor who will prescribe you different types of things, which you can talk about later.
Can I just chime in on this?
One sec. Can we just get ahead from Lynn?
Sorry, just one, yeah.
Okay. I would say the timing is the biggest thing. So PMDD typically is right after ovulation. It's all about the effect of the rise of progesterone after ovulation. And those with PMDD, we see histamine issues. So that's something to research, and that can be affected by diet. We can also see genetic issues. We can also see trauma. So trauma has a big effect on PMDD. Whereas PMS, there are loads of different symptoms. So when I talk about PMS, I say, tell me more. Don't just say PMS. Say, is it premenstrual anxiety? Is it depression? Is it bloating? Tell me more, because the more you dig down into the specific issues, the better you can address specifically what's going on. And so when you go to the doctor, it might be helpful for you to kind of do that journey. 3 months, I know that feels like a long time, even a month, to be able to say, okay, after I ovulate, this is how I feel. And then take day by day those steps after ovulation. How do you feel every day? So you have a diary, a 2-week diary of your physical symptoms, your emotional symptoms, any bleeding, any spotting, and then you can go and you can say, actually, this is what's going on, and you can get really specific and to help you advocate for yourself.
Yeah. Okay, that's really
Brilliant.
helpful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I've got this side as well. Okay, I'm going to do this lady here in the black and white check shirt.
Hi, my name is Stephanie. My question is about the difference between stress and chronic stress. So in my situation, I'm the first daughter. I'm now the de facto matriarch of my family at the age of 32. So I'm trying to understand, actually, when am I just stressed, or when is it actually a point of I need medical assistance, I need support, I need to look at my community, my family, my friends to back me up in those situations, because I'm at a point now where I'm tired all the time, I'm exhausted, I'm trying to think about keeping myself going, rather than serving the needs of my family.
Well, I think we should do medical, because I'll go to Dr. Joyce first. And I know that you do a lot in terms of, helping people to deal with their family
I was
situation.
literally holding myself back. I was like,
Yeah. So we'll do Dr. Joyce first, and then we'll go to you, Ruth.
I think it's important. I'm first daughter as well. That's stress alone. And I think it's something that we don't understand. It builds up as we go along, right? It builds up from when you're young and going up. So there's a lot of pressure there. There are different types of, obviously, stress can be immediate, how you're feeling, that immediate adrenaline response to a particular thing. Your chronic stress that you're talking about, which is probably what you have in terms of the long-term little incidences that keep rising up, and we're not really acting on any of those things to kind of address what it is. So I think for me, even just hearing from what you've said, I think it's important to sit down and actually break down the things that could be causing you stress. What is actually causing the issues? Yes, we've spoken about the first daughter side, but I'm sure if we break down even further, we can bring out like 4 other things or 5 other things that are causing it. So I think it's really looking within now and just saying, what is actually causing me problems? What do I actually need to address? And also knowing that not only are we here as medical professionals, but we have therapy, for example, who will be able to explore that with you. And on the NHS, you do have access to free therapy. I understand it's not always easy to get something the next week, but it's actually something that we need to go through first and break down where are the potential, because the more stressed you are, the more physical health symptoms we can actually have. If your body is going through stress, and even though you're functioning on high stress levels, actually we're causing more damage to our body that way. So I would say, first of all, we need to get you definitely to a health professional that can actually sit down properly and break down the causes of your stress, the triggers of your stress, where the trauma comes from, and then go from there, and then think about the management options there.
All right,
I'm sure Ruth will be able to also share.
I was literally just piggybacking off what Dr. Joyce said. I've started this thing called emotional journaling, and I think sometimes we can look at these procedures and think, it's not medical enough, but it does help. I think being able to write down how you're feeling, why you're feeling that way, what has caused you to feel that way, understanding how your brain dissects certain situations will help you be able to deal with it when it rises up again. And I think that's such an important thing. I know that you're saying, you're currently trying to figure out whether it's stress or chronic stress, meaning that you're in a state of trying to understand what is going on. I genuinely think being able to set some time aside to write it down and physically see it on a piece of paper where you can go back, read over it, then go and acquire techniques to deal with it. I think it's super important. You also mentioned family stress, community stress. Boundaries is such a huge part of your wellness journey. Understanding what you can take on, being able to say, no, I can't show up for you in this capacity today is such a major part of your self-love. And before the medicines and anything like that you may go and acquire from outside, you're helping yourself to heal by just putting up boundaries. Our community sometimes don't understand what we need and when we need it, but if you prioritize yourself and prioritize your own needs, you'll almost teach them how to better serve you. So I think emotional journaling and understanding your boundaries, working on your boundaries may be able to help.
Thank you very much, Ruth. We had someone here. Yeah, it was the lady in the black and white top just here. If you'd be able to stand up. If you could stand up, we'll bring the microphone to you. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. It's a really, really good panel. My name's Andrea. Just speaking to some of the ladies of a certain age. Charlene, you mentioned that you were feeling a certain way and you realised that your symptoms were not perimenopausal, they were due to something else. How can we actually determine, I think from what I've understood, when you're in perimenopausal period, it's quite difficult to actually pinpoint it to that. Do you guys, any of you, have any kind of advice on when it's actually perimenopause or when it's something else that's going on?
Lilies, well, I won't. I'm not trained in any of this stuff.
So perimenopause is a phase of life. If you have a period, if you have a menstrual cycle, you will go through perimenopause. It's not a medical condition. And one of my big bugbears at the moment is how medicalized menopause and perimenopause has become when it's actually a phase of life. It can start in your late 30s. It typically starts in your early to mid 40s. And there are phases of perimenopause. There are around 4 phases. And it starts with small changes in your period. And then it goes on to you don't ovulate every menstrual cycle. So you don't benefit from that cushioning of progesterone. And progesterone is this cushioning that affects our mood, our sleep. And so you might find that it's not inevitable. This doesn't happen to everyone, but you might find that you feel angrier than you may have previously, or you kind of have an outside reaction. Or you might be actually reacting totally normally, but you're not suppressing it like you used to. Because that's a really big issue with Black women, suppressing emotion. Autoimmune issues are very, very high in Black women. And there's not like direct studies about it, but a hypothesis is that it's suppressing emotions. So phases of perimenopause, if you have a period, if you have a menstrual cycle, you will go through it. It typically starts early to mid 40s. Lots of different symptoms, but again, if we go back to the foundations that I mentioned earlier, there's a lot that you can do to support yourself. And not every symptom is directly related to perimenopause.
And I learned that, and I got tested, and they told me that I was perimenopausal. Turns out I wasn't at all. So yeah, sometimes you've got to ask around and from a few different people to actually figure out what's going on. I'm really sorry, but I can't take any more questions. I'm so sorry. I know that quite a few have got hands up and stuff. I'm so sorry. I've got a timer here that's flashing, and the team's standing up and telling me that I've got to wrap up. So look, you've been an incredible audience, but can we give a huge round of applause for our panel? Karen, Joyce, Demi, Lenice, Gina, and Ruth. Thank you. I think, does Daisy come on now?
No, this isn't in the schedule.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
This isn't in the schedule, but that was incredible, ladies. That was so informative, just so helpful, and it just felt safe, and exactly why I started Beauty Beat. I also want to thank the audience, both everyone in the room and everyone at home, because this panel was added because of you, of the feedback that you ladies gave me over the last 2 years, but particularly the last year, wanting to delve deeper into our wellness, wanting to delve deeper into our internal health across the decades. And so thank you, but my goodness, thank you to each and every one of you. That was just phenomenal. Thank you. All right.
I'm here to echo what Donna said. Thank you so much. I took so much away from that, and the key thing I've really taken is to really listen to myself and pay attention. I feel like every question kind of comes back to recording and monitoring and paying attention to what you're feeling, what you're experiencing. So thank you so much. I know this is truly life-changing advice. So again, just give it up for them. And I'm also here to tell you that we'll be back here at 3 p.m. for the skincare discussion. And it features Ade, CEO of Topical, so it's not one you want to miss. So see you here at 3. Thank you so much. Have a great day.